So here we are on this very, very rainy day. I'm at the farm now. My new Defender is in this barn. Let me go inside and show you. So here it is, my new to me 2004 TD5 Defender pickup. And this is, as mentioned, a one owner from new. So the guy that owns the farm here has had this vehicle since brand new. And this is what I'm taking home today to start the new Defender build on. So very excited to get into this, and let me show you around this car in a bit more detail, probably when we get out of the farm and drive it home. So here we are back in a TD5 Defender. I've just driven it out of the farm and the sun's come out now and it's looking quite a lot better. So what I'm going to do is let's take a look around it. I'll show you what it's like in the state that it's currently in. It is very farm fresh at the moment, which I'm looking forward to getting stuck into. And one of the things I really liked about this Defender particularly was how authentic it was and how genuine it was. It's so hard now to find Defenders on the market that haven't been tampered with, that are completely unmodified, and particularly one owner from new. It was just really appealing to me. I also know the farm where it's come from and know the history of it basically too. So let me take you a look around the outside. But before we have a look outside, let me just jump in the back for a second and just mention my sponsor for this video, Car Vertical. Car Vertical is a vehicle checking website where you can get the history on millions of vehicles before you buy them. So if you're thinking of buying your next car, you can put in your reg number, and with that it'll bring up a whole history report, whether it's been crashed, whether the vehicle's been written off, if there's outstanding finance, and anything else you want to know. And with my code DOCTOR, you get 20% off your next check on the site. So let's take a look from the outside. Let's just turn that off because it's a little bit noisy. So I'm looking forward to making this video, mainly because this will serve as a great reminder to me as to what this Defender started off like. This has literally been picked up straight from where it previously has been for the last 20 years. As you can see, it's pretty muddy under there. And it's just, I really like the authenticity of it. Although I know there's a lot of work to be done on this truck, I think it's a great starting point for the project that I've got planned and for the work that I'm planning on doing in it. And I wanted something that was completely, you know, untouched really, something that hadn't been modified previously, something that I could put my touch on, and something a little bit different to what I've done before. So those that follow the channel will know I've done a Defender 90, a Keswick green one, and this was just something a little bit different. That was also a TD5, but obviously it was a 90 rather than a pickup and a 110. So this will be quite different, and I've just got so many interesting ideas as to what I'm going to do with this. So you'll see that it's got some body damage all around. There's a few dents, there's a few scratches, there's a few bigger scratches down this side, and all of these have been caused by cattle. They're generally from cows that have been rubbing up against this, banging into it. So it's got cow damage all round on this Defender, with a few other bits that are a bit worse for wear. Rear cross member, for example, this bit where it's dropped down, hit the tow bar, and just, you know, the usual sort of wear and tear you'd expect, I guess, from a farm truck. It has actually been cleaned. The guy actually did clean it, which was very kind of him. So it was a little bit more dusty and a bit dirty when I first went to look at this. Now, probably the biggest difference between my Keswick green Defender and this, you're going to see in a minute, is this. Because if you remember my Keswick green Defender, I put a new interior in it. It wasn't quite as dusty and muddy as this. This really has been used as they should be, really. This has been used exactly what Defenders were made to be used for, on a farm, moving stuff about. It's had hay bales and stuff in the back. It's been used to move cattle from field to field. So generally it's lived a pretty working life. You see here on the headliner, pretty filthy again. A lot of work to do. But I'm just enjoying being able to capture all this now before I start this project and get it kind of cleaned up and looking fresh again. So yeah, so it hasn't been used to tow very much. As I said, it's had some animals in the back. Let me show you inside the back of here. This is the rear at the moment. The hood on. Obviously, that's probably not great. That's probably just scratched it a bit more inside there. I've known that from the history, but also when I've looked underneath it as well, the transfer box looks pretty good. There's no real leaks from underneath. It all looks quite tidy. And the biggest question all of you watching this in horror is going to be like, why has this guy bought it from a farm? This is going to be bad news. It's going to have a rusted chassis. It's going to be corroded. Actually, you know, there's some surface corrosion on there. I've had a really, really good look under this entirely. And it's actually not in that bad condition for a vehicle that's lived most of its life on the farm. And there's a few reasons for that. This vehicle, although been used on a farm and obviously used quite heavily, is actually in here. One of the bumpers, let's have a look. the chassis is plugged with mud generally. Here, it's just full of mud throughout. But this vehicle particularly wasn't used very much during the winter. So it's mainly been used on the summer. In the winter, it's used on the tracks. In the summer, it's used on the fields. So it hasn't actually, when you get underneath it and look right up underneath where the seat boxes are underneath, there's not actually that much mud that's been splattered up there. Although it is in the rear cost member and a few other areas, there's not much mud that's been thrown up, and then it's been kept in a barn when it's not been used. So actually, because they use tractors during that time of the year when it's winter and it's very muddy in the fields, it probably hasn't seen that much hardcore winter use. And for example, road salt, it hasn't seen very much road salt in its life compared to vehicles probably of a similar age and similar condition. So although underneath here you'll see it's pretty rusty, surface rusty, a lot of mud, needs a good jet wash and cleaning down, and it needs some kind of underbody treatment. A lot of mud there, for example. It's not actually as bad as I initially thought it was going to be. So I don't think I'm going to have to learn to weld with this, which is a good thing. So compared to my 90, it has a few other little features, and I'll show you them inside here. It has electric windows, which I didn't have on my 90. It's got the original Land Rover radio in, and it's really nice because with this I've also got the original Defender handbooks as well that were provided with this vehicle when it was sold, which is just a nice thing to have. I never had it with my previous Defender. Hasn't got a cubby, it's got this centre seat, which I will be keeping actually in this truck because it's a single cab pickup. I think it's going to be good to keep the centre seat for a little bit of extra capacity in the front. So I've got to make a plan now of what I'm going to be starting with, how I'm going to be approaching this Defender build, and kind of get it ready for summer really. I'd like this Defender to be mostly ready as a pickup truck for summer, and I've got some really interesting plans with it. Take a lot of inspiration from like Cool and Vintage and a lot of the classic sort of Defender builders in regards to what I think this might look like. I quite like the sort of heritage galvanized sort of theme, and that's what I'm thinking of at the moment for this. We'll be taking the back off it and leaving it as a pickup. And I think the first thing I need to do is just give it a really good clean. So inside here, for example, and outside, a really good jet wash, blow all the chassis clean so it's not got all the mud in it. And then I'm going to look at getting it undersealed or treated in some way. I'm thinking of using Dinatrol at the moment. I quite like that product considering what I've seen, and it gives that kind of nice black finish that I'm looking for, providing the chassis is in good condition, which I believe it is from my inspection. I spent a good 40 minutes underneath it having a really good look and making sure it all kind of matched up to what I want it to be. So pleased with that. So I think the first thing is going to be getting the underneath sorted out, getting the sort of getting it all cleaned up, and then we're going to be looking at the body itself. So once I'm happy with the mechanics and the underneath is kind of sorted, we're going to then work on the fun stuff and more like getting the body resprayed. I'm going to do getting it all repaired, getting it sorted, and then looking at some other little extra bits. So obviously headlight surrounds, the interior, seats, steering wheel, so much stuff that I'm so excited to get into. And my last Defender, my 90, was the first time I'd ever done that ever before. So this is quite nice. It feels quite familiar because it's a TD5 still. It feels quite familiar, same sort of layout. I know how they should drive, or how mine drives. I actually think this at the moment probably drives a bit better than mine does, or mine did. And maybe because it hasn't got those massive mud terrain tires on it and all that with it. But you know, it's nice to get back into something where you feel a bit more comfortable and you know what to expect, and so it feels like coming home a little bit. And I'm so pleased I've got another Defender project to build here on YouTube and Instagram, and to kind of document the journey. And the video series I made for my previous Defender is so nice to look back on, and I'm hoping that in a year's time I'll look back on this video and I'll like to look at the state of this and actually think, wow, I can't believe the Defender looks the way it does now. So really looking forward to that, and I'm really excited about sharing the journey with you. If you were in my shoes and you had just bought this Defender that I'm sat in right now, where would you start? What would you be doing first? And what would you like to see with the build itself? Is there any particular parts, components you'd like to see added to this Defender compared to my last one? Or is there anything different that I can do? Let me know in the comments below. Always love to hear from you. I always read every single comment and I will answer as many as I can. But for now, thanks for watching this video. Look forward to seeing you really soon on the next installment of this Defender build.